you recount not really thinking very much about what he was writing about specifically, and just each of you doing your bits, you know, doing your part.
Yeah.
And even in the book, I noticed you don't really dive much into his lyrics.
No, I think the last thing Ian would have wanted you to do was analyse it. Because the thing is that he always said in a lot of interviews that we did, and I used to listen to those, was that they were open to interpretation. And the fact is that they mean different things to different people. So unless he came out and specifically stated what it was about, which he didn't, it was open to interpretation. So, you know, what I might take from it could be completely different to what you might take from it. I mean, there are certain songs that, you know, are very plain. Love Will Tear Us Apart, for instance. Considering it's so poppy and sweet, the lyrics are very, very desolate and very bitter, to be honest. It's a perfect pop song because it has a real twist in the tail. But no, I mean, I don't think he would have wanted you to do that. I think he would have told us to fuck off if we'd have asked him. What's this about, Ian? I mean, you know, he did explain. Like, he did explain about She's Lost Control being about the young girl he was trying to get a job, who suffered from epilepsy. And he ended up killing her in the end, which must have been awful for him to even consider when he had epilepsy himself. So, you know, there were occasions when he did tell you, but it wasn't something that you did. I mean, we were working class men.
Right.
We didn't discuss our feelings,
right,
especially in those days, at the ripe old age of 22 in 1978. You just didn't do that, you know. And I mean, the thing is that what I loved about Ian was that his delivery was just so much gusto and so much passion that really I just took one look at him and thought, he means it. And that was enough. And I mean it as well. And it was as simple as that, really. I mean, you know, there was that thing where you could have analysed the lyrics to Closer, as many people have, and you can look at it in a way, particularly 24 hours, and you could see that maybe it was a cry for help. But the contradiction was when you looked at the man, he looked fine. You know, he looked like he was absolutely fine. And when you asked him, he always told you he was fine. So there was a huge contradiction in what he was writing to how he was acting.
Joy Division has this mythology, as this brooding intensity. I mean, it's very hard to beat it. It's
the darkness.
The darkness.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you know, a lot of the commentators in positive ways have praised the book for its experience of sort of the laddishness and, you know, the exuberance and enthusiasm of everyone, including Ian.
Yeah, I think it's quite normal, that, you see, and I think it was an aspect that I felt was lacking from everyone's description of Joy Division. They were always playing up the dark side. And yet, you know, there was a wonderful camaraderie and a very focused attitude that we all had, and a great happiness that we all did it in. And I think that one of the problems with that was that everybody was so focused and so hell-bent on achieving success, which for us was just to play. There was no thought about money, there was no thought about celebrity. All we wanted to do was be able to go and play our music. And just as we were about to achieve that freedom, I think that the person most annoyed was Ian, because he felt that he was holding us back. And I think that that's why, whenever we asked him, and you were hoping for that wonderful relief of him to go, and he must have looked in your eyes and gone, I know what he wants me to say, so I'm going to say it, because he was that kind of guy. He was a very generous, warm person. And he just went, I'm fine. And you went, oh, thank God for that. Whew. I was worried there for a minute, but you know, it was like straight from the horse's mouth, and I do think that that was probably his reluctance to give in to his illness, because he didn't want to take your ambition and your drive from you. He didn't want to thwart you, you know, and I think he didn't want to give in to the illness either, and he fought it tooth and nail. It's a very difficult thing, you know, I'd hate to be in that position. You've got 3 people who've worked for 4 years to be a success, and then you're looking at them going, oh my God, you know, it must have been a terrible position. And I suppose in a funny way you can see how all the circumstances would have led to that hopelessness of you were backed into a corner. You didn't want to upset your bandmates, you didn't want to upset your wife, you didn't want to upset your mistress. In some ways you can understand why it ended like it did.